सूरा सो पहचानिए जो लड़े दीन के हेत पुरजा पुरजा घट मरे कभू ना छाड़े खेत। ओ सूरवीर योधे ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹ ਮਹਾਵਾਕ ਤੇ ਪਹਿਰਾ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀਆਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਜਾਨਾਂ ਵਾਰੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਸ਼ਹੀਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਯਾਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੁੜ ਬੈਠੀ ਸਾਧ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਬਖਸ਼ੀ ਹੋਈ ਫਤਿਹ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਕਰੋ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸਾਧ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, we all gathered here today in the memory of those Mahan Shaheeds who we see their photos around Trafalgar Square. 41 years ago, when the Indian Army, under the orders of the Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, decided they would try and attempt to teach the Sikhs a lesson. And they attacked Sri Darbar Sahib, affectionately known as the Golden Temple to people worldwide, on one of the busiest days of the Sikh calendar. They did so without warning and without reason. Today marks the day that attack began on the 1st of June 1984. And it also marks the day of the first Shaheed of 1984, Shaheed Bhai Menga Singh. Sahib Singh ji, I want you to close your eyes for a second. We've all been, ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਦਰਬਾਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੋਣੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਦਰਬਾਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਗੁਰੂ ਰਾਮਦਾਸ ਦੇ ਦਰ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੀਵੇਂ ਉਤਰਦੇ ਆ। The peace and tranquility ਜਦੋਂ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਸੁਣਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਰਵਣ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ। That's the scene of Darbar Sahib that many of us have. Whatever religion you're from, you know you're in a spiritual place. As the kirtan blares out, and ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਮਨ ਟਿਕ ਜਾਂਦਾ. But 41 years ago, there was a different type of tension in the air. Imagine that complex, and you start to hear bullets whizzing between your ears. And you hear soldiers surrounding Sri Darbar Sahib. Soldiers from that very country. And then that noise, you still hear the Sangat in their thousands that were there to mark the Shahidi Purb of Tan Tan Sri Guru Arjan Dev Ji. And that peace is shattered by machine gun fire, indiscriminate machine gun fire targeted at Sri Darbar Sahib, at Sri Akal Takht Sahib, and at the pilgrims. ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਮਸ਼ੀਨ ਗਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵਾਰ 1 ਜੂਨ ਤੋਂ ਚੱਲਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਈ ਸੀਗੀ. Then you imagine the Parkarma covered in smoke from grenades and smoke bombs that were sent in to disguise the commando units trying to infiltrate. ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੱਥ ਖੋਲੇ. And then they started to respond in defense of Sri Akal Takht Sahib and the sanctity of Sri Darbar Sahib. On the 4th of June, the army commenced its operation and full-on assault of Sri Akal Takht Sahib and Sri Darbar Sahib. Heavy artillery started to bombard inside the complex. ਜਿੱਥੇ ਬੀਬੀਆਂ ਬੱਚੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗ ਸਰੋਵਰਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ਼ਨਾਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ, you now see their dead bodies floating. The Parkarma is red with the blood as the army who couldn't penetrate into the Akal Takht Sahib went round the complex into the rooms and started to shoot the innocent pilgrims. Still not succeeding, the Indian Army, in the face of humiliation, in what they thought would be a 2-hour operation in which Sant Jarnail Singh Ji Khalsa Bhindranwale and all the Mahan Yodhe would come out surrendering with their hands in the air. But instead, bodies of soldiers were being returned Units upon units were being returned who couldn't pass. Not able to tolerate that embarrassment, an Indian army of over 150,000 troops against 235 Panth Gursikhs. Then on the 5th of June, they sent in the tanks. Jis parkarma te ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਬਾਬਾ ਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਦਾ ਸੀਸ ਭਿੱਟ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ, ਉੱਥੋਂ ਟੈਂਕ ਬਾਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ, ਪਰ ਟੈਂਕ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਵਧੇ। ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ ਉੱਥੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦੀ ਅਸਥਾਨ ਤੇ ਟੈਂਕ ਡਿੱਗ ਪਿਆ। ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਪਿੱਛੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ armored personnel carrier, another tank came. ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਸੀਗਾ, ਜਨਰਲ ਸ਼ਬੇਗ ਸਿੰਘ ਨੇ with a rocket launcher from the Akal Takht fired a rocket which blew the tank up immediately. ਉੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਰਾਹ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਰੁਕ ਪਏ। They then started the shelling. Imagine in a sacred place, a sacred shrine. This wasn't an army exercise, this is shoot to kill. The Vijayanthy tanks that were from the UK, made in the UK, were used to bomb Sri Akal Takht Sahib. The full army with helicopter gunships overnight on the 5th of June. There's aerial bombardment, ground bombardment, and commando troops who are burning the Akal Takht and all of the surrounding buildings just to flush out the last fighting Singhs. On the morning of the 6th of June, there's an eerie silence. But not content, the army then go through room to room, identifying where all the Sikh pilgrims are and children, elderly, and they don't spare anybody. There were 8,000 shoes that were uncollected in Sri Darbar Sahib. 8,000 Sikhs who were there to mark Guru Arjan Dev Ji Shahidi never returned. They then continued on to the sacred Sikh reference library. Having contained and completely destroyed Sri Akal Takht Sahib, they then went through and burnt and looted the Sikh reference library. To this day, those sacred manuscripts and artifacts have never been returned. 41 years later. Prasad Sanji, that wasn't the end of it. Hale tak vi Singh joojde rahe si. To the 10th of June, the aakhri Shaheed by Major Singh Nagoke from Ramgarhia Bunga on the top, fired a shot when the Indian army and the Indian government thought it was safe. Jail Singh, who was the Indian Prime Minister, came to Darbar Sahib to see what devastation they had caused. As he was walking away from Darbar Sahib, a single shot fired, went past his ear and it hit his bodyguard. Then on the 10th day, they smoked out the final Singhs from Ramgarhia Bunga. But for years they painted this narrative that there were militants and separatists and terrorists holed up in the complex. But once they took control of the complex, that's when the more sinister operation began. Operation Woodrose, where the CRPF, the Border Security Forces, flooded Punjab in June 1984. And they targeted Sikh Naujawan between the ages of 15 and 35. And they were given special powers of judge, jury, executioner. Whoever looked suspicious, they had shoot to kill license from the Indian government. Over 150,000 Naujawan disappeared in the 9 months of Operation Woodrose. Many were detained, arrested, tortured, and killed in fake encounters and extrajudicial killings, something that became a hallmark of the Punjab police for decades. So Saad Singh ji, swale hunda, if it was just about Sant Jarnail Singh ji Khalsa Bhindranwale, if it was just about the Dharm Yudh Morcha, then why did it continue on across all of Punjab? Why did they target a further 55 historical Gurdwara? But the real question is, what has changed? What's changed from 1984 to 2025? Je Anandpur Sahib de Mate te, which was the beginning of the Dharm Yudh Morcha, was about greater sovereignty of Punjab, not just Sikhs, greater recognition of the Punjabi language. Do we have recognition of Punjabi language today? Punjab jaake dekho, har ek board te Hindi, English, Punjabi is the third. In all your schools, Punjabi is being taught as an option or as a choice, and even that is being diluted. They talked about the Punjab capital, Chandigarh. Even today, that's not been fully returned. They talked about 40 years ago, Amritsar Sahib as a city having sacred status. Do we have that today? You see all sorts happening in Amritsar. Pavitr jagah te jo marji jo kisne karna puri kholya. In 1978, when the fake godman Rankari Jatha tried to claim that he was a Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and the 13 Shaheed who went there to challenge him, has that fake godman operation or intention stopped in Punjab? How many more of these dere have we now seen in Punjab? We talk about our water rights, our farm rights. These were all put in the civil liberties rights that were being demanded by the Morcha at the time. Have they been resolved? We saw in 2021 the farmers' protest. ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਮੋਰਚੇ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਬੰਦ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ. Has that been resolved? These were the demands that Sant Jarnail Singh Ji Khalsa Bhindranwale and the Dharm Yudh Morcha were putting forward. The illegal detention of Sikh political prisoners. Saad Singh Ji, at that time, Singhs who were arrested without reason, without charge, were freed within 24 hours. Now we have Singhs sitting in jail for 30 years. 30 years when their sentence was only 15. One of you lot is still sitting there. Jagtar Singh Jaggi Jol, it will be 8 years this year. Saad Singh Ji, he's been acquitted, but he still languishes in an Indian jail. We fight the silent genocide of the drug pandemic and alcohol, which has been fueled by the state and the center into Punjab. So who is responsible for that? Has that changed? When Sant Jarnail Singh Ji and the Jathe of Amrit Sanchar was happening at Darbar Sahib, 10,000 Naujawan were taking Amrit a month. 10,000. Now there's a rush for Punjabis and the youth to leave Punjab because there's no opportunities, there's no investment. Sikh preachers, our institutes, all being targeted or all being infiltrated. Even abroad, you're not safe. In recent years, we've seen the arm of the Indian government stretch over to UK, Canada, and America in their transnational anti-Sikh operations. Killing of Tar Singh Ji Khanda, killing of by Hardeep Singh Nijjar, and attempting to murder other Sikh activists. Saad Singh Ji, this has all been their tactic from day one to influence foreign governments, including the UK government. So there's no Sant Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale now. There's no Dharm Yudh Morcha now. So why are these oppressive, repressive activities still happening with Punjab? Ask yourself the question, what has changed? Why are we still being targeted and hunted in Punjab and discriminated? Especially those who think they're free in Punjab, that they're considered equal. Read the constitution of India. Has that changed? No, you're still considered Kesatari Hindus by law. So we want to come on to, we're here in London. 11 years ago, it was uncovered that the British government were involved in Operation Blue Star. Margaret Thatcher, at the behest of Indira Gandhi, sent the SAS, Britain's elite forces, to Darbar Sahib. They were there for 10 days. And they produced a report on how to attack Sri Darbar Sahib and capture or kill Sant Jarnail Singh Ji. All of this was documented in the report, Sacrificing Sikhs. But it didn't just stop there. It wasn't just one-off advice. It wasn't just a report that wasn't actually carried out. This was a decade-long complicit relationship of supplying arms, training, and military tactics in Punjab, counter-insurgency training, which was all meted out at the hands of the Indian government and the Indian police, at the expense of all of your families. This day last year, the Labour government made a commitment. The Deputy Prime Minister announced that they would honor their commitment to hold a independent judge-led public inquiry into the UK's role in 1984 and beyond. This commitment was in their two Labour manifestos. It was made by the Prime Minister himself and reiterated on the 1st of June 2024. Now that Labour Party is in government. And our call today is, where is that commitment? Where is the announcement to hold a judge-led inquiry into the events of 1984? You all deserve to know the truth. We know what India did. We see the pictures of Sri Akal Takht Sahib. We know the devastation. What we want to know is, what was the role of our government, of this government? And how far did that role continue and stretch? So we call on the government to announce and honor its commitment, because if it doesn't, it will be seen as a betrayal of the whole Sikh community, both in the UK and around the world. And I want to ask you all, Sasang Ji, if you agree that this government must do its role to uncover and disclose the truth of 1984, then मैं जकारा छड़ना तो सारे दो हाथ करके अपन जकारे दी जवाब देना ते इत्थे दी सरकार नूं भी पता लगे कि जो इन्हां दा हत्थ सी 1984 विच ओदी भी सच्चाई लैनी आ तां ओदा इंसाफ लैना। बोले सो निहाल। Because let them note, whether it's your Sangat demands or every Gurdwara in the UK, they will be challenged and they will be questioned about their commitments. And we'll be expecting them to honor them, or this will be a generational betrayal by this government. But Sasangji, these are nishaniya, these are examples of how Ghulam we have been. And we have been both in Punjab and here. That they can do these things at your expense and make a mockery of the Sikh community. But no longer. It was never about a handful of Sikhs in Darbar Sahib. It's never really even about the Dharm Yudh Morcha. It was about the Soch, it was about the vision that represented. It was about the vision of Sant Jarnail Singh Ji. It was about the vision of all the shaheeds that we see around here. Our Soch was that we are going to tear down the shackles of slavery and Gulami. And we want to be, and we will be, as independent, sovereign Sikh state and our own independent homeland of Khalistan. That's what they fear. That's what they fear today. That's why we are targeted here in the UK, in Canada, in America. And you will hear from people from both of those countries here today. So Sasini Kirvich, let's all pay homage to those Mahan Shaheed. Sant Gyani Jarnail Singh Ji Khalsa Pindran Wale, Amar Shaheed Bhai Amrik Singh Ji, Shaheed Bhai General Shubeg Singh Ji, Shaheed Baba Thara Singh Ji, Shaheed Bhai Menga Singh Ji, and the countless Shaheed Bibi Upkar Kaur Ji, Chote Chote Bache, Shaheed Bibi Satnam Kaur, Bibi Waheguru Kaur, who were just 8 and 9. We remember all of those countless Shaheeds, and let's pay homage to their Qurbani, that they've allowed us to stand here with dignity and our head up high, because they stood against that Indian army, and they stood and they said to them, come if you dare, we are ready. So ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਹੀਦਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਣਾਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ in a 3-minute remembrance. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.